Well, good evening, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to our second GCEA webinar. And we're really delighted to have Dr. Shaun Dudek with us tonight.
The resources for understanding your regional demographics needs to encompass the industry partners, your recruitment markets, and finding that key data to support building allies. Most of our partners that we've looked at throughout these years has been in competition. There was the competition with graphic design, the competition with engineering. Well, right now we have to take a look at education as a main hold. A lot of research is out there regarding the millennials to XYZ and finding that key fit that there aren't as many students or young people to enter not only education but enter the workforce. So we need to start taking a look at what support is an industry. And I've given some ideas that we can read our magazines. We can find the right type of advisory. But those NAIC codes, those North American Information Classification System, is what we're really going to look at, and then seeing who's in your backyard. But what we have to find is we have to find our allies and influencers, or we have to be the one to influence the shift and change. We have to serve all majors and all programs. We know our key foundations in software and marketing and understanding what might be called mixed media, cross media, omni-channel media, but we know that we have to take a look at building programs internally and externally. From that, I had created my spreadsheet that showed me my Wisconsin, Minnesota, and in Illinois, my 20 technical schools. Now, only a couple of those did align. Exactly. They really aligned broadly with those graphic software tools, the marketing side. In step 4, you see that there's 77 high schools, and I went in specifically and found the high schools within Wisconsin that had a graphic communications. Now, those might be in yearbook. It might be in a broader sense of graphics, marketing, business, art. From that, it took some time, but 600 emails were collected with specific names in Wisconsin and an additional 600 plus in Minnesota. That was a broad range of topics. So I have 2 resources that I could go to that have data and information about my market sector and about my industry partners. And again, I use those printing impressions, magazines, and a lot of information that's out there on the top 400. And I'll get into that in a little bit. The graph shows that Great Lakes Graphics Association statistic that they had on their website, which really represents my school and my backyard, to talk about the shipments in the 3 states, to talk about the number of employees that we're working with. You're not alone, but you have you and your students, and we usually just worry about where they're placed. Now, specifically in that top 400, what I know is I didn't pull the data. I had students look at that, and we found that 100 companies out of the top 400 were in Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Illinois, and specifically 33 in Wisconsin. That's who's in my backyard. It gives the name of the organization and tells me what markets they print or have the print and allied sectors for. For a wider landscape, we know our marketing sector, and some of you might have heard that already, is that 323111 is the commercial print. What we know is manufacturing under that code is commercial print. But as we take a look at the other NAIC codes that are out there, we know that it might not just be for printing or gravure printing or flexography printing, but it might be the ink manufacturers, it might be the printed circuit boards, it might be the billboards and outside advertising. And so when we start to look at direct mail advertising, we'll have some specific information for these sectors within our industry. Now, taking a wider scope, the University of Wisconsin Stout is in Dunn County. We know that I could just stick with printing for my graphic communications program, but we want to take a look at what else is happening, not only in the surrounding counties, but in the surrounding states. And that's where most of our students have attended. So one of our other faculty members asked her entry-level class, did you take a graphics class in high school? Now it is a mix. So they are business students, they are career and tech ed students going into teaching, they are graphic design students, packaging. And from that, she got a list of high school names. The students then made the introduction to this faculty member, and from that, tours were created and gone out to the high schools to tour their facility and promote our program. But with that, we had data. We did not just go alone and take the information. We talked about the 77 other high schools in Wisconsin that had that. We talked about the other programs that had career transfer credits that were available from their technical college that would transfer directly to our university. Allowed me to download a PDF. Some PDFs were 30 pages. Some were just the industry at a glance, and it showed the highlights with this. It allowed me to show where my growth markets were. Specifically, this was promotional products, and the other was custom screen printing. And so I can see my growth markets. I can show my administrators exactly what's happening. I can use this information to build some infographics. That business analysis allows me to see who the people are. I could pick by my major industry group of manufacturing, as you can see in the upper left. I could have used that NAICS code if I needed to have a specific topic, but I wanted something broader. And you see that I had 176 different options under manufacturing, specifically under printing, publishing, and allied industries. From that, I could get and download some Excel spreadsheets. It tells me exact company names. It tells me the owner or at least 6 different executives if it was input in there. Those 6 different executives tells me if they're male or female. Now, I can get even further, and it could break down the number of companies within that 75-mile radius. I can see exactly where they fit into those market sectors, and I can see the exact sales volumes. So I can start talking in numbers that don't look like this, but I could use Reference USA's information to show me a summary of those NAICS codes in the top NAICS codes within my region in that 75-mile radius. Now, when we move into foresight and action, what do you do with all this data? We start to think about, my gosh, how far do I get? Where do I get to? And what needs to be done? We want the top players. We want to know who's in the backyard. We want to know how close they are, how many employees they have. We want to look at where our students are placed